Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again in this YouTube astrological segment. I'm going to be talking about the zodiac sign Taurus and life, and basically what their life in general is about. Now, yes, it does apply and pertain to the sun, moon, and ascendant. Now, as far as life for Taurus, well, life for them is really their life is often about making progress in a very methodical, deliberate, plotting, steady manner. They're not going to be ones to take, outlandish risks. Of course, they are ones that will plan a lot of things. It is done, but their actions, when they make actions, they often want to make sure it accomplishes something. They don't want their efforts to be in vain. This is something too where when a Taurus person that's attaining success or attempting to will do so often through very dogged, persistent effort. It's not something that they're going to be generally get like right away or through done in a very fast manner. It's done with a lot of deliberation. It's plotting. Taurus is about very plotting energy. They will be ones, their existence on this earth, in our mundane sphere, may be somewhat monotonous and at least perceived by others as that. They often thrive on routine. I have Taurus rising, as many of you may know, and I do essentially the same thing day in and day out. It certainly grounds my more mercurial Sun and Cancer Gemini Moon combination, but there was somebody, and this guy was actually a murderer. He's a Taurus Sun, as he was William. Some of you may have heard of him. He was on a Forensic Files episode, William DeParvine, and a negative manifestation. I mean, Taurus can be very greedy and avaricious, and this person wound up actually killing for money, and he ruined his life. As speaking of life, he ruined his life as a result. What I want to get at is on the episode of Forensic Files, so that somebody had stated that he basically lived like a monotonous existence, and sure enough, he's a Taurus Sun, and he basically went to work, did what he had to do at his job, and then he went home, which is what I often did when I actually had a regular life situation. Speaking of life, and the thing is, I think somebody on Forensic Files stated that they thought he likely killed because the reason he went out and killed because it was just simply the reason that he wanted to kill. Well, the thing about it is understanding astrology and knowing that has a Taurus Sun, William de Parvine. I think he actually killed because the money was a strong reason in it, because he didn't want to spend the money to get the vehicle, so he killed the couple in the vehicle to do so. I do strongly believe that, because given his Taurian energy, it would not shock me if that factored in largely to the claim. But that is just my own perception and opinion on it. But the point being is that a negative manifestation, Taurus can be very greedy and avaricious. If somebody's got their Taurus prominent in their chart and it's strongly afflicted, the Sun, Moon, or Ascendant, and it's very afflicted. It can manifest in a lot of greed and avarice and constantly wanting more money and excessive need for income, where even prosperity may not be enough for some Taurus people. Now, Steve Forbes, he's a renowned publishing executive. He has Taurus rising. I mean, some Taurus people have such a tremendous financial acumen, prodigious financial acumen, it's not even funny. You look at, I mean, his net worth, according to Wikipedia, is $430 million. You talk about another person as an example, Floyd Money Mayweather. Somebody that was a former boxer, I believe he's a boxing promoter now. His net worth is $285 million now, and these and Taurus does have this seem to have a strong ability to make money in many cases. Not all Taurus people during their life are going to accumulate a lot of money, but the one thing they have in common, most Taurus people, is that desire and that want for money in material possessions may be there, and whether they attain it or not, that is another story. But the misconception is that the life of a Taurus is always going to be about making a lot of money, and that is certainly far from the case. And I can attest to that, being a Taurus Ascendant and being on poverty level income for a number of years. Now, what I want to talk about um, now, another negative Taurus I want to talk about. Bernie Madoff was Sun in Taurus, and many of you may remember him. He was this ringleader, I guess you could say, of a infamous Ponzi scheme, and he swindled all kinds of money out of people. That Taurus Sun, and he also had his Venus at 29 degrees Taurus. Of course, Venus at 29 degrees is a critical degree. He had it in being in Taurus, which can be very greedy and avaricious on a negative manifestation. 29 degrees in astrology, of course, is the analytic degree, and it's also a degree of crisis and upheaval. And he did cause a lot of crisis, sadly, not just for himself, but for a lot of people that didn't get the money that they thought they were going to get originally, and he wound up ultimately being incarcerated because of his role for what he did with that Ponzi scheme. Interestingly enough, he also had that Venus at 29 degrees Taurus making a conjunction to his south node, and when you have the south node in conjunction with something, it often affects that planet adversely and to its detriment. It's also energy that indicates of what we're supposed to get away from. So it's something with him. He really needed to get away from that, and unfortunately he didn't. He didn't. And the constant need for affluence and greed, and the fact that he also had a Leo Ascendant. This Taurus, the Sun in Taurus, that want for making money, it was done on such a grandiose scale. The fact that Leo was rising, and it's not surprising, he got a lot of notoriety and recognition for it. And if I'm not mistaken, his Leo Ascendant was very close to 29 degrees, and that would be an analytic degree. That is the analytic degree as well. But anyway, but Taurus, when they retire in their life, they like to a lot of Taurus people, I see them as wanting, just work their regular, job, and even though it might be somewhat monotonous in some people's eyes, and then retire at like 65 years old, because Taurus energy is very regular and very basic. And the thing about Taurus too, they often have a very exceptionally stable nervous system, and they're slow to be excitable or to become high strung. And the thing is, if you have a Taurus that has a very relaxed existence, it often can indicate that their life is going to be prolonged, as long as they're living healthy at the same time. Because I'm sure stress can sometimes detract years from a person. But the problem is, if you have a Taurus person that is either in a stressful situation, it could affect them more adversely than most, because they have such a calm demeanor and they have such a desire for things, for tranquility and peace in their life. Or if you get an overly indolent Taurus, an overly stagnant one that may succumb to lethargy, and if they wind up eating too much and they're not physically active or mobile or what have you, that could actually be to their detriment and may take some years off their life. And it would actually, and of course, that increase the propensity for dying at an earlier than average age. Now, I read in one book, and I honestly don't remember the source of it, but it was a book I had I got like back in the earlier mid 1980s. I was reading something. It was a book that was stating all about the zodiac signs or something, and it said that for Taurus, marriage occurs around 26 years old or 24 years old. So that is something to look at as far as marriage goes in the life of Taurus. And the thing about it is, too, the fact that in a solar or natal chart for Taurus, the zodiac sign Scorpio is often going to fall on the 7th house cusp. Even though Taurus is very relaxed and calm and peaceful, their marriage might actually be crisis ridden in a lot of cases, given that Scorpio falls on that 7th house cusp of marriage in a solar or natal chart, and their relationships might have a lot of upheavals and endings, because Scorpio is the sign of death. It can reflect figurative death, obliteration. And I've had It's interesting, me having Taurus rising, of course, I have Scorpio on my seventh house husband. I've had a number of relationships and important friendships that have come and gone in my life. Having the moon in Gemini probably does not help matters because the moon can reflect people we're close to home with. And Gemini is very mercurial, changeable, restless energy. I think that's where there's a lot of change in my connections as well. And having the ruler of my seventh house of relationships in that third house, which could be the most mercurial of all the houses in astrology, shows instability in those connections. But anyway, one last thing I want to talk about Taurus as far as their life goes. It's often one where they're showing constant loyalty and steadfastness to others, and they show a lot, and they could often be very good friends, being very trustworthy. Now, the thing is, Aquarius may be the prototypical friend, but Taurus might at least be a close second to them in terms of loyalty and their quality of friends. That Taurus often needs to get more people in their life. I have Taurus rising. I think a lot of Taurus people can be somewhat reclusive. They may be hermits. Sadly, I also have Saturn in my 12th house and a preponderance of planets on the bottom half of the chart. So those things certainly are not helping matters in terms of introversion. But anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, people, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.